So with that piece I just shattered, we're abruptly brought back to this place and time. And our Sunday morning service together. And with that, we say thank you and amen.
How you doing, Grace?
So I was trying to be real smooth about turning my little remote on. So I learned my lesson. Let it land. There we go. So this morning we're here on a very special Sunday. And that's our opportunity to bring into membership our very first members in Unity of Payson, our charter members in Unity of Payson. And my talk on being committed to a spiritual community. I want to give us a little background first on where we've come to, where we've come from in order to be where we are now. About 2.5 years ago, we invited Reverend Megan Smith, who at that time was in a support ministry capacity in Sholo, to come over and talk with us about what it would mean to start a Unity Church here in Payson and what it would take to do that. After that, we had a study group in my dining room for several months, and we read together, some of us, Lessons in Truth, and then we read together a Myrtle Fillmore book, Keeping a True Lent. And we continued that process of moving forward to get a Unity Church here in Payson. And part of what that took was writing a proposal to Unity Worldwide. And we did that, and we submitted it in April of 2011. And in June of 2011, we were accepted as an expansion ministry in Unity of Payson. Our official sponsor is Unity of Mesa, because we're a fledgling operation up here. And at this time, I also want to acknowledge some people who've been part of our steering team kind of through this process. John and Lori Rothwein, Sharonda Dearwoman, and Keith Bielgard were all part of this initial steering team, along with Charlotte and me, right? Was that the group? I hope I'm not missing someone. So we've had some transition in that group as well. Then we started services here almost 2 years ago in the month of November. And this is where we've been meeting since then. And as we have been meeting here, some other things have been happening in the background. We have grown and shifted our steering team. When Joel Bear passed at Unity of Mesa, our sponsorship shifted to Reverend Sandy Kale in Scottsdale. It's recently shifted back to Unity of Mesa. Roy and Lynn Madigalli spent an afternoon with us while we identified the values that we wanted to hold as Unity of Payson. So we've been doing things all along to help to grow Unity of Payson. A critical step for us as members, because we need members to vote on bylaws. I think most of us aren't real rule crazy, but in a church like this, we need some rules. We need a few established guidelines so we don't have to keep making the same decisions over and over again and run into some inconsistency kinds of issues. So we need members to vote on our bylaws. We need members to elect a governing board. At this point, we have a steering team and wisdom council of people who've said, yeah, I'll do that. Okay? But we need to elect a governing board. So this step of having members is a really important part of our growth as a real church. Okay? And we will induct more members, perhaps 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. That's one of those things we haven't decided, because we don't have bylaws yet. Right? So we haven't figured that out. But this gives you a little idea of what's been going on with Unity of Payson and how it is we're here today with a real Unity Church in Payson for the first time in history. Okay? Now, let's see. Oh, I had a wonderful little lesson this week in perspective. Because part of what it means to be a member of a spiritual community is a shift in perspective. And we know that when we shift our perspective, we also shift our behaviors and our patterns. and our understandings along with that shifting perspective. How would you describe this sky? Dark, stormy.
Ominous.
What? Ominous. Any other ways? Threatening.
Potential blessing.
Potential blessing.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. This is the shift in perspective I experienced this week. In our prayer group, one of the members came in with her umbrella, and she said, I brought my umbrella because the sky looked promising. Right? And I said, whoa, in Wisconsin, we call that threatening. Right? So this is part of what we have when we become members of anything. And I think really strongly with a spiritual community. A shift in perspective of how we see things, how we see one another, how we see our own spiritual practice. This morning, each of you who's becoming a member is going to receive a membership covenant. And at the top of this membership covenant are these words. And this is very interesting. I know this looks long. I'm going to read it with you because this is a covenant that Unity founders Charles and Myrtle Fillmore entered into with Spirit in 1892. Okay? And this is their covenant. We, Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, husband and wife, hereby dedicate ourselves, our time, our money, and all we have and all we expect to have to the Spirit of truth. Wow. And through it to the Society of Silent Unity. It being understood and agreed that the said Spirit of truth shall render unto us an equivalent for this dedication in peace of mind, health of body, wisdom, understanding, love, life, and an abundant supply of all things necessary to meet every want, without our making any of these things the object of our existence. Isn't that amazing? I have goosebumps. This is the covenant they entered into with Spirit. They said, we give you everything. And in return, we expect everything. Without making it the focus of our existence. And they went on to initiate and grow Unity of Payson. Unity of Payson. Yeah, that too. Unity, the Unity movement. And they began buying property on the outskirts of Kansas City and establishing a center. Imagine the faith and the dedication it took for them to do this. And this was their covenant. Now, what if we had a covenant like this with Spirit in our lives that said, I will give you everything, and in return, I expect everything? To be real clear about that, without making it the purpose of my existence. Because don't we all know that when we're doing something we're dedicated to and loyal to, the rest comes to us, right? The rest comes to us. And when we start thinking, I have this job because I need a job and I need the money, right? It just all goes downhill from there because it's just about that money. It needs to be, we all know that. Our work needs to be about purpose, it needs to be about commitment, about dedication, something creative, something we can believe in. And then everything comes to us. And that's the same kind of covenant that Charles and Myrtle established with Spirit. And it's the same kind of covenant we can enter into with Spirit and with our own, very own little church right here in Payson. This fellow, Gary Simmons, has become quite a mover in Unity, and he has shifted Unity's language from conflict resolution and conflict management to the language peacemaking. Peacemaking. Now there's another shift in perspective, right? And a shift in paradigm. Peacemaking. And he's the author of this book, The Eye of the Storm, Embracing Conflict, Creating Peace. And that's another book we're going to approach pretty soon, I think, in a group. I've read the book. It's a fantastic book. The Eye the eye of the storm and takes a very different approach. So his words are worth paying attention to. He has observed that when someone joins the church, they enter a discipleship program, a deepening of their relationship to their own spiritual journey through education, service, and spiritual practice. So this is what I want to focus on for a little bit this morning. Education. Once I learned how to use Google, isn't that all the education I really need? Right? That's the world we live in. We ask a question in our house, oh, let's Google that. Right? Isn't that the only education we really need? But is that all we need in our spiritual life? We need a lot more than that, don't we? In order to move forward, to develop, to grow. You tell me, what are some of the things that you engage in as spiritual education?
Meditation.
Prayer, meditation,
Classes.
classes, reading. We have our daily word. I know some of you use that. Some of you use the science of mind, daily meditation, affirmations, denials and affirmations as a regular practice, and learning more about how to do that. Okay?
Conversations with Spirit.
Conversations with Spirit and with
Each
each other. Absolutely. So this idea of moving forward our own education, our own growth and development in our spiritual world. And in these aspects of growth, of education, what was the second one? Third one is spiritual practice. Service, thank you. I want to bring our way shower into this conversation. Jesus Christ from the Bible. Education. He was brought up in a Jewish family, a Jewish boy, and he learned Jewish ways. We also have a period of his life from age 12 to age 30, about which there's nothing in the Bible. We don't know what he was doing. There's a lot of speculation that he was traveling, that he was going to India, that he was going out to the desert with these seeds, that he even went to Britain, that he was traveling different places to build his own spiritual education. We don't know for sure, but given the kinds of things we read about when he turned 30 in the Bible, we have to know he was doing something during that period of time to really build his spiritual education. So we can be reminded of him as a role model as we think about our own lives and what we're doing in spiritual education. Opportunities to serve. Service, that second piece. Jesus' whole life was about, the part of his life we know as an adult, was all about service, right? That's what he did. He and his disciples walked from town to town, and they were of service. They were of service to individual people. They were of service to groups of people. Sermon on the Mount. Jesus was of service to a throng of thousands. He went to the home of Mary and Martha, and he was of service to two people in their own home, and all kinds of things in between that. So tell me, how can we be of service? How are many of you already being of service? Tell me what you're doing to be of service to Unity of Payson.
Picking up trash.
Lynn and I, and occasionally a few others, pick up trash once a month. We have our spot right out here on the highway. That's part of Unity of Payson's community service. What else? You're doing all kinds of stuff.
Prayer group.
The prayer group.
Set up the room.
People show up to move things around in here and put things back together. That's all service. What else?
Angels in action.
Angels in action. If people have a short-term need, we can respond to that need. Here's a table of service right over here, right? People sing, that's service. Cindy's doing a lot of work with the web right now, with our web presence. What else are we doing with service? Do you ever tell a friend, say, there's this church in town I've been going to, and it really has been impacting my life? That's service. And as a church, we have our piece of highway where we do trash pickup. We bring food for the food bank, right? Once a month, we do that as our community service, right? So Unity of Payson is being of service in this town already, even with the group that we have. And we hope to grow that impact on this community. And most of you are already being of direct service to Unity of Payson. Tell me, why do you choose to be of service to Unity of Payson?
For connection,
Connection.
purpose.
Connection and purpose. Did I hear another word?
Contribution.
Contribution. Okay, connection and purpose, contribution. We know that what we give comes back to us. One way that we get to know each other a whole lot better is by being of service together. Lynn and I had a chance, we were the only two to show up for highway cleanup last month. So we had a chance to have a 45-minute conversation, all up and down, right? And we talked about a variety of things related to our own lives, Unity of Payson, all the while being of service. So this is one of the things that we want to ask you about, being of service. And the other thing we want to do in terms of service is give you a chance to be creative, right? For you to pick up and say, this is something I would like to try. We haven't tried very many things here yet because we're a smallish group and we don't want to wear ourselves out.
We have the animals.
We had the animals. I was just going to say, Adrian and Garrison have been our role models in saying, let's do this. And then taking it and moving it forward. They've done that a couple of times. So we really invite you, if there's some kind of service you want to provide and you think Unity of Payson can be the vehicle for that, talk to any of us. Talk to a steering team member or a wisdom council member. And let's see how we can do that. Because one of my visions certainly is to have a greater impact in this town.
We did the clothing drive too.
And we did a clothing drive. Thank you, Lynn. Yes, last fall we did a clothing drive. Yes. So we're having an impact, and I would love for us to have more of that and more of a presence. Opportunities to serve and spiritual practice. What's your spiritual practice? What's that?
Living.
Living. Thank you for cutting right to the chase, Donna. What is your spiritual practice? Living. Each and every day we get up, we live our day, we move through our day, we finish our day. That has been a day of spiritual practice, whether intentional or unintentional, right? We have opportunities all the time for spiritual practice. They may come disguised as problems, as challenges, as, oh shoot, I wish I hadn't done that. Those are all opportunities for spiritual practice. It looks all kinds of ways. And as you can see, one of the ideas up here is even aging as a spiritual practice, right? We all have our own ways in which we do spiritual practice. I love to be in my gardens. And however frustrating it is to grow stuff here, I keep trying, right? I keep trying. I keep adding water. I keep adding fertilizer and working at it. But one of the reasons I do it is because it's a spiritual practice for me. When I'm out there doing that, I'm not in my head. I'm not analyzing stuff. I'm not thinking about what I'm doing next. I'm in that moment. And anything we can do to help us be here now, that is spiritual practice, right? Now, some of you might be wondering about that dollar sign. What does that have to do with spiritual practice?
Positive money.
It's energy.
Prosperity, it's energy. And tithing is a spiritual practice, okay? Tithing is a spiritual practice. The fact of life is that in order to maintain a church, it takes
Money.
It takes green. It takes money. It does. It takes money to do that. And that's one of the things I want us to come into more of at Unity of Payson, is recognizing that tithing is a spiritual practice. It's not just about taking money out of your pocket. It's part of your whole spiritual perspective. The Dean of Continuing Education in Unity Village, Paul Hasselbeck, was talking to us once in a class he was teaching about his own growth in tithing. And he said, I used to give 5% or so. And he said, then I decided to increase it a little bit to like 7 or 8%. And he said, you know what I discovered? In my own spending, I didn't notice the difference. I didn't miss that 2%. It didn't change my life at all from my financial prosperity. I didn't have any less money because I gave another 2%. He said, what I had is more ownership in what I was tithing to. So he said, I went from 7 or 8% to 10. Because why not? And with that growth in his own spiritual practice of tithing, he found himself growing in unity because of that commitment. And he went on to get his ministerial degree, and as I said, is now Dean of Continuing Education in Unity Village. In the Bible, we have some phrases like prove the rule, prove the principle, tithe, and prove the principle. And we can come right back to Charles and Myrtle's covenant, where they said, we are giving you everything, and in return, we expect everything. That is spiritual practice. And we do the same thing with our tithing. It's no different. And I know sometimes we get a little bit skittish around the whole money issue in churches, but it is. It's part of our spiritual practice. And again, we can look to Jesus Christ. Okay? He didn't get paid for what he did, that we know. He probably got fed, right? He got housing. But for him, it wasn't about getting the money. So his tithing was very much in time and talents. And he gave it all. Right? He gave it all. And he asked the disciples to give it all. And what did they get in return? They got a community. They got a spiritual community that they forged and they built together. This is what we know about people who join churches. That we're looking for opportunities to grow and stretch, to know greater possibilities for their lives and to serve. Does that apply to you? Looking for opportunities to grow and stretch and provide greater opportunities for your lives and to serve. So let's think about that real consciously as we take on this role of becoming members in Unity of Payson. And as some of the rest of you think about continuing down this path to become members in Unity of Payson. What are the opportunities to grow and stretch that you want? Right? What do you want here? What do you want from this church as opportunities to grow and stretch? And let's put some more of those things in place. We have another concert. We brought Mark Welch last fall. We're bringing him again in August. We have another opportunity for a new musician who will be traveling through, new to us, Unity musician who will be traveling through the region in November. So we're doing some things to grow and stretch as a church. And we invite you to bring forward your own ideas. How do you want to grow and stretch? And how can you do that in this group and bring us along with you? Right? Because if you have a desire to grow and stretch in a certain way, I bet there's more of us who would love to come along with you with that opportunity. And greater possibilities for your life and for service. To be here now, to be all we can be, to be in spirit, and to do that each and every day, all day long. Greater possibilities for our lives and for the life of Unity of Payson and to grow and serve. So with that, let's move forward to welcome our charter members. What I'm going to do is say your name, and I'm going to give you this membership covenant, which has Charles and Myrtle's covenant at the top, and your own covenant at the bottom, which is pretty much a repeat of your request for membership form that we've put back on this for you to help you remember what it is you're committing to. And there are things like being an expression of the love that you are, including Unity of Payson in your daily prayer life, doing your part to create a safe, loving, and accepting environment, supporting the mission of Unity of Payson, right? Those are the kinds of things we have on here. And this is something for you to date and sign and keep for yourself. So that some days when you go, what is this Unity of Payson about? Why am I a member of it? You can pull this out and you can say, this is what I said that I would do in support of Unity of Payson, and remind yourself of that, okay? All right, so I'll say your name, you come up, I'll give you your covenant, walk over to Charlotte, she'll give you one of the flowers, and we'll just all kind of stand here, huddle for a minute or so as a group. So first, I'm going to say Charlotte's name. I'm going to say Charlotte's name and give her a covenant. And I'll give you your flower. Okay. There you go. All right. And then you get to say my name.
Lynnette Brouwer.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll stand over here, okay?
Okay.
And then people can walk from me to you. So the next person we have on our list is Cindy Adams. You're welcome, Cindy. Thank you.
Am I supposed to stay?
Yes, you can just stay standing there for a couple minutes, okay? Suzanne Bishop. Thank you. Marianne Gardner. We have Diane Martell Williams, who is unable to be with us this morning. Dee Redfield. Thank you, Dee. Carol Skoglund and Rick Skoglund. Just a minute, huh?
It takes a while once I've been sitting.
Thank you, and thanks to Carol too. And Lynn Shelby. And Steckel. And Gus O'Reilly. Thank you. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. So, how about if, to us, you get to say our visitor, first-time visitor blessing, right? We love you, we bless you, we welcome you.
We love you, we bless you, we welcome you.
Thank you. You may be seated. So we look forward to many other opportunities to do this again. And we hope you stay with us this morning for cake and ice cream. And I'm giving it back to Charlotte.
Thank you, Lynnette. Although, you know, that I'm big on dreams and believing passion and all that, and this was Lynette's dream. So this is a dream come true. I love those. You know, when she was talking about I call it perception, but in the last couple of weeks, it seems like so many things that I've put my hands to have not worked out. I'm sure there's a lesson there somewhere. But when I turned on the computer today and looked at one of the videos, And it was like, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. And I was thinking, that's a real joyful life, right? A real joyful life is not waiting. It's like, okay, when this storm is over, then, you know, I can live my life. But it's about learning to dance in the rain. And I was telling Betty, and she said, and look, it's raining. You know? I guess I need to dance. But anyway, I'm so thankful to be here. And so now we are going to sing our song.
Can we go back to that slide? I thought I was finished.
No, don't.
But I really have to share this slide with you. I'm sorry, this is a little postscript, right? This is when Moses was a judge in Israel, and his father Jethro was watching him work one day, and he said to him, Moses' father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, and he said, what you are doing is not good. You will surely wear yourself out, both you and these people with you, for the task is too heavy for you. You cannot do it alone. And that's what Unity of Payson is, right? This is not something anyone can do alone. And if Moses couldn't do it alone, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of us can't do it alone. This is a community effort, right? Thank you for letting me share.